It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman, and this show is brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com. You can get a copy of my book, an autographed copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator, and also to all kinds of services. If you think your spouse is cheating on you, you can give us their email address. We'll trace it back to online dating websites and catch them cheating online. That's at emailrevealer.com. Okay. We got one of those shows today, one of those tragic shows. Our guest is Emma Ibbitson, and she's the producer and the director and the person behind this documentary called Traffic 2, Inside Child Protection. And you can see more of their story at their website, www.petemiddletonpictures.co.uk. And this is one of those stories about how child protective services and the courts and stuff like that are victimizing families and tearing families apart for profit and whatever other craziness they have going on. Miss Ibbitson, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hello, Ed.
Hello, how are you? How are you feeling today?
We're doing great.
Okay, great. And what time is it over there? I know it's late in the UK right now, right?
It's getting on after 7 p.m. That's early for us.
Oh, yeah, that's not so bad. Okay, that's not so bad at all.
No.
So tell us about yourself. Who is Emma Ibbitson?
Oh, gosh. Well, Emma Ibbitson is basically, how can I put it, a victim of what we call our child protection services. I'm a film producer, not director, Ed. My partner takes all the credit for that, just film producer.
Okay.
In 2010, I met my partner. I went into the film industry. 2012, we had social care come to our home. We were halfway through shooting our first feature-length film, and Children's Services come into our home and decided that my children needed to be in their care instead of my care. The allegations and the insults and the false reports that were made against us is mind-boggling, completely mind-boggling. I was accused of running my youngest daughter over when she starred in a West Yorkshire video. Well, West Yorkshire, I'll just explain, is a tiny little town. Like, you could probably fit it in the corner of New York and no one would know it were there. And we made a video for the West Yorkshire Police that showed my daughter rolling down the bonnet of a car after being hit by a drink driver. They told the courts that we actually physically ran her over, and that, therefore, ended up in me losing custody of my children in 2012. I fought a 6-month court battle. I tried appeal after a complaint, and I am still a motherless. I have no children. I've gone. I've not seen them since 2014.
Well, let me ask you this. How old were your kids? How many kids did you have in 2012?
I had 3. I had one who was 15. My eldest daughter was 15. My son, who has mild learning difficulties, was 13, and my youngest baby, she was 9.
Okay, so 9, 13, and 15. And this is 2012. Now, how did you come to the attention of Child Protective Services? Like, someone called, an ex-husband, an ex-boyfriend? Who called them up?
What we have over here, I don't know if you do in the States, but we have what they call child protection officers, and these are teachers that are placed in your children's schools that are basically spies for child protection services. And they overheard my eldest daughter, boasting, as you do, to a teen friend that my mum's a film producer and just try to score brownie points with friends, really. And that teacher then reported us to social care, saying that we needed to be investigated because of our profession.
Okay. So just because of the profession?
Yeah.
Oh, you know,
they went on to, they went onto our YouTube channel, basically. We're looking for, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, pornographic material.
Okay, why? Was there anything pornographic on the YouTube channel?
No, that's one thing we don't do, but they were worried, they were concerned, this teacher was concerned that the children may be filmed in a way they didn't approve.
Okay, really, with no basis at all. Like, they had nothing to... And what about when your first contact, when they first came to your home, were you apprehensive to let them in, and did you welcome them in? How did you handle it?
Well, I thought, well, I've done nothing wrong. I just got the knock on the door saying I'm from Children's Services, and we've had a referral, I suppose, from school that you're a film producer and your children may star in these films, and we brought him in and we showed him some clips, and he was totally satisfied, and he said, oh, well, that's fine, just obviously keep a calm level between you and the children, what the children see or what the children star in. And he was totally happy with that, and they just went. But with that same referral, they come back again in 2012.
You know, it's interesting. Here in the States, right, we have Child Protective Services too. And once they become involved in your life, a lot of times they're young kids out of college. And they have a lot of power, and it goes to their head, and they take things personally. And if you have a personal animosity between them, if you rub them the wrong way, they can make your life miserable.
Yeah.
Right. And was this that kind of situation over there? Was this a young man just out of college, or was this someone who's been working in the system forever?
The first gentleman that called, I'd say he was wet behind the ears. He was quite a young gentleman, but he was understanding, and he understood our profession and that it was our lifestyle choice, and he accepted that, and nothing else come of it. But then in 2012 we got a child worker with her first case. She'd just enrolled as a social worker, as we call them over here. Yeah. And she's the one that took my daughter. She just took a hatred to us both. I don't know what we ever did to her.
Yeah, that seems to be a pattern, you know, that they have a personal, they take things personally, you know, and you rub them the wrong way, and they make your life miserable.
Yeah, I mean, my partner, sorry Ed, but my partner walked into the room to meet her, and I've never seen anyone just look at someone in such disgust, and all he said was, hello, I'm Pete. Yeah.
Now, did they interview your kids and ask them if anything was going wrong, and if there was any problems?
Yeah, they were sneaking the kids out of school, they were taking the kids to... Well, they were bribing them, basically, offering them trips to beauty parlours, car showrooms, days out, and they were just interviewing the children and saying, like, look, can you tell us what's going on at home? What's happening at home when we're not there? And my children were like, well, nothing really. Mum may go on location on a Saturday, she may have a film shoot to go to, we go to a sitter. And they twisted that, saying I was abandoning the children over my profession.
Well, what was the nature of your films? Were they like exposing government corruption, that kind of thing?
No, that's the thing. You see, Ed, we only come into this when it happened to us. We're drama, we're comedy, we're thriller, we're horror. I mean, the film we were shooting in 2012, that was almost like The Purge. We say we got the idea first, but we scrapped that idea. So conspiracy theories and documentaries like this were new to. We didn't start this until 2014.
Now, the incident where you filmed the drunk driving video, were there any corresponding injuries on the children that they could point to and say, or have pictures of, or say, hey, look, this is why we're complaining?
No. Okay. They just basically said, we do not approve. We, as the unit, do not approve of your children being in videos, whether it's for the police or not, and we don't want you to do that. They stamped their authority on my children when they had none.
Now
they took over the parenting role.
Yeah. Now, so now, when you first, how do you respond now? Do you go to court? How do you respond to them to try and get your kids back?
Well, you go through, they come to your home and they assess you, and they say, well, we've talked to you, we've looked at your family life, we've looked at every aspect of it. We don't approve of mom, we don't approve of dad, we don't like grandma, we're taking you to court, so they serve you court papers. And they usually turn up the day before you're due to go into court.
Oh, really?
To say that we're going to take, I got mine, I think it was just the day before I got served in the street. I had a server come up to me and say, here's your papers, you're going to court in the morning.
And were you able to bring, now, the next morning, were you able to bring a lawyer with you, or just you went by yourself?
Well, I wanted to represent myself, and that's what we were going to do. We were going to just say, look, no, we've done nothing wrong, we'll defend ourselves.
Right.
And we had a solicitor forced on us from the social care worker. She said, you can't do it on your own, Emma, you need a solicitor. So we had one forced on us. And we found out she was basically on their side anyway. 99%, Ed, of the... No, not 99%, but that's a high figure. 50% of family law lawyers over here will be working on both sides.
Now, were you able to identify a profit motive in this? And is there someone making a profit? Like over here in the States, there's a whole industry. There's like these therapists that are custody evaluators, and they get paid tens of thousands of dollars. And then they kick back money to the judges. And so there's a profit motive in keeping families here torn apart and keeping us in court and family court for the rest of our lives. And so they bleed you dry. Is there that kind of profit motive over there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they wanted to assess me mentally for some reason. They thought I maybe have a mental ill health. And they told me that would cost me £14,000 if I was to carry on actually representing myself. It'd be a £14,000 bill. So they wanted to have me assessed. I know there's some therapists, Ed, that are paid £72,000 per report.
Oh yeah, I've seen it too. It's 30,000, 35,000. These are horror stories where people give up their whole entire life savings just to restore their families. So how did it go for you in court? The judge wasn't sympathetic to your story?
Most family court judges, see, we don't have judges at the first call, Ed. It's not judges, it's magistrates, and these are people, these are greengrocers, these are butchers, these are farmers that volunteer to hear these cases, and these are the ones that decide whether your kids go home to you or stay in the custody of the state.
So this magistrate, did they give you a reason why they weren't allowing your kids to go back?
We weren't allowed in the courtroom. We were kept in a little side room where my solicitor kept popping in and out. We didn't go in until the judge called me in to say that he recommended that the children stay in the state overnight and I come back tomorrow.
Okay, and then what happened when you went back the next day?
I found out that they'd actually applied for a care order on the day prior. But they convinced me by saying if I sign a Section 20... A Section 20 is craft a little tool that they use to get your kids away from you. So basically, my solicitor said, sign this Section 20, Emma, and it's an overnight placement, and we'll come back tomorrow, and we'll get them back tomorrow. Now, they used that Section 20 while they kept me in that little room to get a full care order. Well, sorry, an interim care order. That basically means the children stay in the custody of the children's services for a 6-month period.
Oh, my God. Well, then when you heard that, you must have been devastated. What'd you do? You went home and just threw up, you know?
It's hard. Sorry.
Yeah. No, because let me tell you something. One time, me and my daughter went back to the court. I had her 4 days a week, and we wanted like an extra half a day. And the judge says, no, from now on, you can only see your daughter 1 day a week on Mondays. Okay? And we went home that night. We were throwing up. We were throwing up in front of our apartment here, walking back into the house. People don't understand how devastating this is to your life.
Well, I had to. The most devastating thing, Ed, was having to go to school and tell my little girl that Mummy said she can't come home.
Right.
They made me go to school. I mean, this is my 9-year-old. I told her that day that Mummy were going to court and that everything will be fine and I'll pick her up at 3:30 as I always do. And obviously after the court hearing, social care said, right, we need to collect your children now from school. You need to tell her she's not coming home. And to see a child, I physically watched her heartbreak, Ed.
Yeah.
I watched her heartbreak and I have never seen such a heartache in a child. I'll never want to see it again. And that haunts me every day. That was 2012.
So then,
well, she wanted to come home to see Pete because she sees Pete as almost a stepdaddy. He's not her daddy, but she sees him as a daddy. And she wanted a hug before they took her away. She said, I just want to hug Pete before you take me. And they said it was concerning that she had to be dragged off of Pete.
Oh.
because, if they don't agree with that relationship has concerns.
Yeah, when they break up these families like this too, there's so many other considerations. The kids have friends in the neighborhood. They have pets at home. They have their school routine. This should be like such a last resort that there should be so many overwhelming evidence that the kids are in physical danger. So, okay, there was that devastating day when you had to tell your kids that they couldn't come back. How long did you get to visit them? Once they were taken from your home, when was the next time you got to visit them? The next day, or was it weeks?
Well, they were taken 12 days before Christmas.
Oh my God!
I mean, we were putting the Christmas tree up. We were decorating the Christmas tree when they come to say we're taking your children, and needless to say, the Christmas tree got thrown out the back door. It was hard over Christmas. I got to see them 4 days after they went into care for an hour in a room with 2 social workers and 2 supervisors.
So now, when you saw them then, it was before they were being brainwashed. They were begging to come home, right?
Yeah, she was saying, Mummy, all 3 of them saying, why can't we come home? Why won't you let us come home? I'm saying, I wish I could. And I was told to stop talking to them like that, or they'd take them away and we'd stop contact.
So
stop telling the children they're coming home.
Even the 2 people supervising the visit, they didn't have any sympathy and said, "Oh my God, something's wrong here"?
No. My youngest was told to sit down and be quiet.
And where were the kids being kept? Were they put with a family or like an institution? Was what
no,
kind of...
they had foster carers all lined up for the children to go to. We found out that in July, before they even met us, they had foster carers lined up for the children.
And was this a family that lived nearby, or were they far away? How much were the kids?
There was about 20 to 25 miles away from me.
So were the kids able to go to the same school?
Oh, yeah, they were escorted there by a social worker.
Okay, so the kids...
They were treated like criminals, Ed.
Really?
Yeah, these kids were treated like criminals, and Mum was treated like a criminal. The main aim of these people is to break a bond between a mother and a child.
What do you think?
So they have to break it.
What do you think? Yeah, I know they want to wear you down. That I've noticed that too. They want to wear you down, and so that you give up. And here in the States, a lot of fathers do. They give up. I hate to admit, I almost gave up. There was one night when I almost gave up fighting for my kid. And thank God I didn't.
Yeah.
But now, what do you think? What is the motivation for fighters? Is it a profit motive? Is it like a demonic motive? Is it are they just evil? What is the motive for them to want to destroy families?
We believe the motive over here is financial. We know there's a lot of money in foster care. There's agencies popping up all over the place. At the minute, foster adopt, they're pushing for foster adopt, so foster carers are being encouraged to adopt. There's money in adoption. Every child is worth money to somebody. Yeah,
I did a show here with a woman who helps adopted birth mothers keep their kids, because what happens is these adoption agencies, they'll agree to pay for your medical expenses and stuff like that so that they can take your child and put it up for adoption. And then once these private adoption agencies get your kid, there's really no one really knows. There's no agency or anything that knows where these kids are going and who's getting a hold of these kids. These are all privately done adoptions. These kids could be going anywhere. No one knows.
Exactly the same here.
Yeah. And that's, when you're thinking, that's terrifying. Like, why are there there's more. If you sell a car, there's a registration, there's a trail. You know where the car went. You can find the previous owners. But you can give up a kid for adoption here, private adoption, and no one knows where that kid went.
It's scary, and we have babies being taken on the labour table. These women are giving birth, and social workers are stood outside the door ready to take their babies for adoption.
Can I ask you a question? How can it be that normal people, we allow these criminal types to get in that position of power, to become the lawyers, to become the judges, and then we just go along with whatever they do when we know, everyone knows about this problem. That everyone knows that Child Protective Services isn't helping anybody. Like, everyone's aware of this. Why doesn't everyone just sit back yeah.
They're scared. We say that all the time. People are too scared to stand up and be a voice, be a person, say, look, I do not approve, I do not agree with what you're doing. One person's not enough, two's not enough, three, thousands need to say, this system is flawed massively. This system needs repairing. Only when enough stand up and stamp their feet do you make a loud enough noise. They're going to carry on doing it while we allow them to do it.
You know, you're so right. Because because I mentioned that, I've gone on the air and talked about my judge, and I've talked about the therapist involved, and other victims of them have come to me and said, Ed, you got to help us, you got to help us. And I do as much as I can, but I'm afraid too. I'll never go back before that judge again because I know what'll happen. It would be crazy too. But I will do a statement for people when they come to me, because the same judges, the same therapists, it's all the same people over and over doing this. I even heard of a case here in the States with this woman. She lives in a very small town in the Midwest, and she was telling me that in the daycare centers, they were giving the kids laxatives so that the kids would get diarrhea. The parent says, "Oh my God, my kid's sick. Let me take him to the doctor." The doctor reports him to Child Protective Services. Oh, there's some kind of abuse here. The kid has diarrhea, and there's redness around the anus. Yeah. And then they take the kid and they put him into foster care and then into this adoption system.
Well, we have over here, the child protection's gone crazy. I mean, you take a child. Children like candy, children like sweets. We all encourage our children to brush their teeth.
Right.
Every now and then, baby teeth come out, loose baby teeth, maybe a cavity. You take a child to the dentist. Your dentist will report you to social care for dental neglect, and you can lose your child for dental neglect.
And
it's crazy. We've got doctors, nurses, therapists, child teachers, nursery workers, childminders. Blimey, everybody is now being told to be on the watch out for what they call potential risk of abuse. It's future risk of abuse.
How long were you in the system fighting for your kids?
I was in the what they call a 26-week process, where you go to your court, you get told your kids are going, then you have to be assessed by two social workers that come and ask you questions. They asked me questions about my parents. My dad passed away when I was a little girl. But silly little things. I'll give you an example, Ed. My dad used to soothe me to sleep because I was scared of a storm. I mean, we don't get bad storms, but I was scared of storms. And so my dad would stroke my hair till I fell asleep. They accused my father of abusing me until I was 12, and he died when I was 11.
But you never testified.
An upstanding, legally abiding, perfect role model. I mean, he's my dad, I'm going to say that, but they said he sexually abused me, Ed. Just to make me look like a bad parent.
Then ultimately, your children were placed into adoption.
No, now that's the thing. Over here, it's not so. If at a certain age, they stay in the foster care system. Now,
okay.
My youngest, she's so strong-willed. She's so like a mum that it's unbelievable. She's always said, Mum, if I go into care, they're never going to adopt me. I won't let them adopt me, Mummy. I'm coming back home to you. I'll never be adopted. And thank gosh, she's always stuck by it. And she's still in foster care. But the other two have come out of the system, like I said, and they don't want to know me now. Mum's a bad person. Mum's an evil, vile person to be around.
Well, what makes them say that?
It's social workers will work on your children, basically. They tell your children, no, you can't go home because Mummy's bad. Mummy's bad, foster care's good. Mummy's bad, foster care's good. And they tell your kids this over and over and over again. So they build up this belief that, yeah, home was bad. Yeah, maybe I am better off here. Yeah, I never want to see my parents again.
Now, over here in the foster care system, and these youth juvenile group homes, and it's rife with abuse. Case after case after case where the kids are being abused by either the foster parents or they get into these youth homes and these group homes, and then they're abusing each other. The kids are abusing each other, and usually they come out of there and they wind up in the prison system. From foster care, and they wind up in prison because they've been taken over by the system, and that's the only life that they know now. Now, do you think that your kids were subjected to any kind of abuse while they were in foster care?
17 days of my son going into foster care, he was molested by someone in the care home, in his foster place. For 17 days, I'd protected him for 13 years. In 17 days, he was molested. They took him from that home, that foster care home, put him in another foster care home. It happened again. They accused him of lying, and he was threatened by his foster carer that he's lucky to be in foster care, so you better keep your mouth shut.
The first foster care family that abused your son, were they arrested?
No.
Yeah, but were they taken out?
I went.
Yeah.
I went to the police. The police sent me away. They told me that social care investigates. See, the way it works over here, Ed, if a child's abused in foster care, the social worker that put him there investigates that abuse.
Right.
So she decides whether it happened or not. So if you go to the police refer it back to the social worker, and she'll say, "No, Mum, no, I've investigated this. No abuse took place." So you hit a brick wall.
Yeah, that's amazing. Like once they've made up their minds, you can't. Now you have to. You can't even tell them what's really going on because it just makes your case worse. So, but a couple of them now, the ones that are out now, how are they doing in their lives? Are they in relationships? Are they working? Are they going to college?
I don't know, Ed. I don't know. I don't have any feedback from them. I don't get any communication from them. I don't exist thanks to Children's Services. Mum does. They know Mum's out there, but because of the work they've done on my children, we don't want to know Mum. I've no idea since 2015 how any of my children are.
Do you think they're aware of you though in this film? Like they must know your name to Google your name.
I'm sure I'm sure they're looking on social media. I mean, what kid doesn't at that age? I'm sure that they're snooping on social media and having a look. But yeah, I tried. The last time I had contact with my youngest, she told me that she doesn't want to see me anymore because I've made films and the social worker says that they're bad. And that's the first film I mentioned that I got banned. They convinced my 9-year-old to tell Mummy that the film's bad, and if Mummy doesn't take it down, she's not going to see me anymore.
Well, if the kids are listening, they can contact me at oppermanreport@gmail.com, and we can try and set up a mediation here. I'd be more than happy to help you out.
Thank you.
Sure, and I'll be happy to explain to them too my experience in this area, and how there's two sides to every story. That I can tell them that what the stuff your mother's saying does happen, and this is a tragic situation here. Okay, let's take a little commercial break here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the name is Ibbitson or Ibbitson?
Ibbitson.
Ibbitson. Okay, Emma Ibbitson, and the video is called "Traffic 2: Inside Child Protection," and you can get that video over at PeteMiddletonPictures.co.uk. And we'll be right back after these messages with more of Emma Ibbitson.
It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
And now a word from our sponsors. Did you know that 30% of all people on online dating websites and personal ads are either married or in a monogamous relationship? 30%. If you suspect that your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend may be cheating online, go to emailrevealer.com and our online infidelity investigation. You give us their email address, and we can trace it back to online personal ads, dating sites, and social networks. We can even expand the investigation and find them cheating on escort service sites or even porn sites if they're registered to porn sites and swinger sites. So check out emailrevealer.com if you suspect your spouse is cheating, and check out our online infidelity investigation. William Ramsey is a producer here at the Opperman Report, and he's just come out with a new book, Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. Now, he just sent me a copy of this book. Oh boy, it's about 2 inches thick, and there's a chapter on just about everybody in this book that you can imagine. The Beatles, and Jack Parsons, everybody's in here. It's incredible. And I definitely recommend this book. There's a bunch of pictures in here, too, of all these people and different chapters and information. Anton LaVey and people I've never heard of, too. There's a whole bunch in here. JFC Fuller. I don't know who he is. But it's great stuff by our producer here, William Ramsey. So check out Children of the Beast, Aleister Crowley's Shadow Over Humanity. You can find it on Amazon.com, or you could find it in the Opperman Report .com bookstore. We have an urgent bulletin. It seems that the group Strawman. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. We're here today with Emma Ibbitson. She's the producer of the film Traffic 2, Inside Child Protection. And you can find that over at PeteMiddletonPictures.co.uk. And there'll be a link to that in the description and on YouTube and all that kind of stuff. Now, Emma, if we were to go buy this film now, okay, over at the Pete Middleton Pictures, what would we find? What can we expect to find on this film?
Oh, wow. Well, you're going to find basically exactly what child protection services do to families over here. I mean, we're talking, the only way to describe it is absolute destruction. We're talking children. We've got stories of parents where the children have gone into foster care and died, being killed in foster care. It's been massively covered up. We're talking of judges taking backhanders. We're talking social workers that are farming children, without going too dark, but farming children into state pedophile groups. We're talking G4S building children's homes so they can profit from taking children into care. I could go on and on all night.
We hear these stories over here about over there, like people like Jimmy Savile and BBC presenters. There seems to be a pattern with the people in power, the elites over there, having an interest in pedophiles, a pedophilic interest in children. Do you think that's part of what's going on here?
I mean, I've not seen actual 100% hard documented evidence to say, look, Em, and I know this child has gone to this elite, this Jimmy Savile or whoever. I don't want to name celebrities and get myself into trouble, but
right.
Going and being abused, I've never 100%. I work on documented evidence. I don't work on hearsay or what someone's told me. I do my research. I've spent 4 years looking just to get Traffic 2 to where it is today. But I do know, I've talked to people that run organisations that say they've got the evidence and they're prosecuting themselves to say they're farming these kids into paedophile rings. And that's scary. That is terrifying.
Yeah, it really is.
Well, I mean, there's Rotherham, Ed. I don't know if the states have heard of the big scandal we had here in the UK, which was Rotherham, which was children going into, without sounding racist, I don't intend to, but going into Asian paedophile groups and being raped routinely by Asian taxi drivers. That was a massive scandal here in the UK.
No, I didn't hear that story at all.
Rotherham.
And how were the kids winding up into the hands of these taxi drivers?
A lot of them were coming out of, they were going into the care system and they were being found from children's homes by the children's homes managers and sent out to these guys. These care home owners, these children's establishment owners were buying these kids 11 and 12 underwear that some grown woman like us might feel a little bit shy about wearing, and they were making them wear it and saying, if you don't do as you're told, we know where your family live, we're going to go for your mum, we're going to get your parents, so you do as you're told. And
are these places
social work?
Are they privately?
Sorry, then social work. Sorry, go on, Ed. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Are they privately owned, or this is the government doing this?
This is the government.
Now
I have wrote to our government, and they're not interested.
Oh yeah, once they got you, they just don't want to investigate this stuff at all. Explain to people why the movie is called Traffic 2. What happened to Traffic?
We released Traffic in 2015, and that was exactly the same, not exactly the same as Traffic 2, but it showed you exactly what child protection services are doing to families. And in that film, we had our anti-drink driving video, the one that starred my daughter, and they told Amazon.com that they had a copyright claim over the copyright claim over the cover. So Amazon took it down and said, we don't get involved in third-party copyright. I then wrote to the organisation, Children's Services, and said, well, you haven't got a copyright claim. We own all copyright. And they said, no, it's not the cover, it's your daughter. We've copyrighted your daughter.
Now, that's interesting. You have an actual email from them saying that we have a copyright on your daughter's image.
They're saying we have copyright over that footage, and we said, no, you don't. We do. We own that copyright. That video was created while she was in my custody with my permission and her willingness. You do not have any claim to copyright whatsoever, and they just responded by saying it's with legal, and we've not heard from them since.
Yeah, and Amazon doesn't get involved in those things. Amazon just takes the complaint and then takes it down.
Yeah, and they took us to court and when that failed and we threatened to host it somewhere else, they took us to court and got a court injunction that prevents me, the director, Pete Middleton, or any affiliates of Pete Middleton Pictures from actually distributing that DVD.
They went to all the trouble of taking you to court and not saying remove the picture of the child, but saying that they wanted the whole video taken, couldn't be released?
Yeah, everything. It's just banned. I cannot promote it. I cannot mention it. I cannot distribute it. I can't even lend a copy to a friend.
Now that's interesting that they went to all that trouble to take you to court on that. I guess they do have something to hide. Now, let me ask you a question too now, because in the preview of it, it shows David Icke. Is that how you pronounce it, David Icke?
Yeah.
Now, what is his involvement? What's his role in all this?
Well, are you guys aware of David Icke?
I'm aware of David Icke.
Yeah. Well, we heard that it was something you were looking into, and we thought, well, he's a well-known, established person. People will listen to David, so let's give David a ring and see if we can arrange an interview. And thankfully he agreed, and he's been looking into this for many, many years, and he'll say the same as we say. This is not isolated to the UK. This is global. This is America, it's Australia, it's the UK, it's Poland. It is a global pandemic. This is happening everywhere, all over the world. I
agree with that. It's definitely, we have evidence here of what went on down in Haiti. You know what this woman trying to snatch 30 kids down in Haiti, and she had connections to the Clinton Foundation, to the Clintons, and we had this big scandal going on here right now with Podesta and the Pizzagate and all these people with powerful Democrats. There's no doubt that this is going on. There's no doubt about that. But now my question is, though, are you concerned, though, that with David Icke, some of his other opinions and his beliefs causes more harm than good?
Well, we said, the director himself, when I said I'd arranged the interview, the director says, well, we'll go, but if he rants on anything that I don't agree with, obviously his entire interview would be scrapped.
Right.
But he says so much that makes sense. He's saying the same thing as we are. He's saying the same thing as the other people are. They are taking these children for nothing more than profit.
Mm. Yeah, I pretty much have the same philosophy. I'll interview just about anybody, and take their statement down, just like I would interview a witness. And then, the audience can decide, and I'll ask some pretty tough questions. We'll decide if they agree with them or not. A lot of times the guest winds up, kind of discrediting themselves, and it's uncomfortable. What are you going to do? So David Icke, I guess I would interview Icke. It's just it's so many of the things he says are very it almost discredits him. You know what I mean? It discredits a really important issue. But who knows? Again, too, maybe all that stuff is real. We can't testify either way. Oh my God.
Well, that's what. People tell me I've got it wrong, but I'm saying, how could I have it wrong if everybody else is singing from the same hymn sheet? Yeah. I've not got it wrong.
So now, do people come to you and seek advice and seek help?
Every day, Ed. Every day, we've got admins who help, and they're saying, Emma, we're so inundated. It's happening again, and it's the same thing. There's nothing that changes. It's the same routine. It's the same people. It's the same. We have circuit judges, and these judges are the same judges in different towns, hearing the same cases over and over again. You hear the same social worker's name. It's such repetition. It can be happening up in Scotland, and it can happen down in Devon, and it can happen in London, and it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I know. It's the same thing here, too. It's like, if you're investigating organized crime and the same drug kingpins, then who's running the show. It's not like a secret. We can point them out, the cartel, in Mexico. But here, they're all judges and lawyers and social workers. And so where can people find you? Like on Facebook? Is that where you're basically doing all this social media?
Yeah, we've got a Pete Middleton Pictures page on Facebook. We tend to send people there so they can have a look on there. We've got a Traffic and Traffic 2 page where we post things of how we're getting on and things that we think are relevant or that people may want to hear or know. That's on our Traffic and Traffic 2 page on Facebook.
And what about if people want to make donations to help your cause? Do you accept donations?
We did it. We had a GoFundMe account. We actually just shut that down at the minute, but we just ask people really just to buy the DVD. That's supporting us just as much as they can. Is to buy the DVD. It's UK money. It's $9.95.
Oh yeah, that's cheap.
And that's what we say. That's cheap, and that's a 3-disc box set. So you're not just getting the movie; you're getting 2 extra DVDs as well.
Now, is that still being sold on Amazon?
No, we're self-distributing to avoid any third-party copyright claims. We decided to self-distribute.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, PeteMiddletonPictures.co.uk. And also, too, Amazon takes a huge chunk, too. They take like half. So,
oh, gosh, yeah.
they're not doing you any favors whatsoever. Oh, my God. How about, I tell you, myself, just talking about and doing these, my own experience too, my divorce and my custody and stuff like that, it was very traumatic. But now, even having to go back now and interview people like yourself and doing these stories like on Pizzagate and stuff, I feel lately that I have like PTSD, that I have like a post-traumatic stress disorder. Have you received any kind of therapy for what you've been through and all this kind of trauma?
I was told that I probably have PTSD because the day that the children went, the official day that they went, me and my partner we didn't speak to each other for 5 hours. We just went home, sat on the sofa and just stared into oblivion for 5 hours, and it was just like shock. You can't explain it until you've been through it. The feeling you get, and it's I can't explain it. I mean, you know, because you've been there yourself. It's such a horrible feeling that your entire life's just been destroyed by someone who's not even legally trained. This greengrocer's just made a decision on what happens to the custody of my children.
Now, how does that work? They're given this position for a certain amount of time, like jury duty. Like here we have jury.
Yeah, it kind of works. Yeah, they kind of apply to be magistrates, and I think they have to sit on so many cases per year. So instead of keeping the judges are all wrapped up in it all, and they can keep the judges free. They hire magistrates, but they have no legal training. They go on a little crash course that they have to pass, and then that's about it. There's no going to college, university. There's no getting a law degree. They just sit you down in a courtroom and you decide the future of these children.
That's a fascinating system. And then there's are there two lawyers? I know you're appointed a lawyer. They force a lawyer on you. But on the other side, Child Protective, do they have an attorney too, or just caseworkers talk on the other side?
No, you'll walk into the courtroom. There'll be 3 magistrates sat at the top of the court. Then there's your solicitor. There's obviously, if there's a father involved, there'll be the father's solicitor. Then there's the children's social work. There's a social worker solicitor. Then there's a guardian solicitor. It's a very lucrative business if people want to get into it. It's very lucrative. And then as it goes on and it progresses further into the court case, there's a solicitor plus a barrister. So you end up with 2.
Now, over here in the States, right, when Child Protective Services comes in, they do make an attempt to try and place the kids with a family member, like a relative. Did you have a mother or an aunt or someone who could come in and take custody of the kids for you? Did they give you that option?
I was asked if I had any what I called reasonable guardians that children could go to. I recommended my mum. I mean, my mum, she raised me.
Right.
And they said she wasn't a suitable carer. I recommended my sister, again, not a suitable carer. Not assessed, just instantly said, no, not suitable. These kids are going into care.
Really? And did they give a reason why they weren't suitable?
They said my mum was too elderly. She was 55 at the time.
55?
55, they said she was too old. She's done her parenting and she is too old and of ill health.
Well, that's good to know. I'm 55. Okay, that's good. I'm going to pack up this kid's stuff and get her out of here. She's going to be 16 in November. 16 in November. Well, that's a 55, too old, huh? And what was their reason about the sister? Nothing?
It's because we didn't. I think the biggest reason they say is because we don't communicate that often.
Okay.
We might. You don't, do you? Or you don't literally, like, once you leave home and you've grown up, you might make a call once a month or whatever. So because we didn't live close enough, we lived about 7 miles apart.
Yeah, and well, obviously the goal here is to split up the families and destroy the family unit so they could take more control over us. And for whatever reason, a lot of it has to be this pedophilia thing. You know, there has to be a motivation in all this because it happens too often. We can't just deny it. You know, it's definitely an ingredient.
We know. I mean, over here, Ed, last year 10,000 children went missing. I mean, we're not saying all, but 10,000 children. Some were found. They weren't missing forever. But a lot of them children ended up in the sex trade.
Well, we've actually had instances here where kids in the foster care system have turned up missing, like hundreds of them down in Florida. Just no one knows. There's no accounting for them. No one knows where they went. So, you know, I don't know. We can all walk around saying how much we care about kids and stuff like that, and they're the most precious commodity, but obviously we don't care enough to get up and do anything about this kind of stuff.
I think that, like I say to so many people over here, kids in the system, they're brushed as bad kids. They're seen as troublesome teens. They're seen as children that no one wants. So people don't seem to have that much sincerity for them. Empathy. They're just lost empathy.
Yeah.
These are kids that need help because they're being abused, and they're lashing out because they're being abused and no one's listening, but yet no one will help them.
Yeah, you're right. They do. They try and paint these kids as being, damaged. Damaged kids, problem kids. They're not worth saving. Oh boy. Well, Emma, we're almost to the end of the show here. What do you want to leave us with? If there's something you could sum this up with and tell the audience in a few minutes, what would you want to say?
I'd say, to start, the system is wrong. Whichever country you're in, whichever state you're in, if you're in the UK, if you're in the States, if you're in Ireland, wherever you are, the system's wrong. And you need to start looking at the system and start asking questions. Start saying, I don't agree with the way you're working. Well, how can we change it? Everybody can do something. Sitting down and doing nothing, I don't think there's anything worse than sitting down and doing nothing. You need to do something. The simplest of things can make a big difference.
That is so true, just a couple of phone calls, a couple of letters, and let them know that the people are paying attention to this kind of stuff and showing up down at these hearings, too, at family court and sitting through some of these hearings. I think people would be shocked at some of the stuff that they saw. And people would be shocked to know, too, that even here in Nevada, in Las Vegas, at the family court, there's suicide attempts here in that building that don't get reported on the news. You hear about it because you're working with these people, but it doesn't. You'd think that'd be a major news story, But just for some reason, it's not important enough to be talked about.
It's same here. Everything's so gagged and so suppressed, and you think, why is that not making? We get mainstream media about a celebrity who stumped to toe, but yet we know that there's 27 children were just killed in foster care. We think that should be in the news, but everybody knows media's controlled. Yeah,
you would think so, right? You would think that these would be important stories that people care about. Emma Ibbitson, thank you so much. Okay, if anything comes up in the future, a new development in your story that you want to come back on the air, just let me know. We'll put you right back on the air. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's been lovely talking to you, Ed.
Thank you. God bless you, okay?
Bye.
Thanks. Good night. Okay, there you got Emma Ibbitson. The video is called... Let me pull this up over here. And the video is called Traffic Number 2, Inside Child Protection. Now, you can find that over at... I closed it up. Let me pull it back open here. Oh, boy, so depressing. You guys remember my story. I was broken up. I can remember days I couldn't even walk, We went through hell. Pete Middleton Pictures.co.uk. And you know what? What can we do about this? It does seem like there's a lot of new spirit of organizing and demonstrating and protesting going on around the country. But when it comes to cases like this, especially the abuse in the family court system, which is probably the most disgusting, I've dealt with the organized criminals, those in the nightclub business, smugglers and drug dealers and what kind of criminal you can imagine. And I've never met more disgusting people than I have in the family court system. The people who would make a living off of ripping little kids away from the parent that raised them. I don't think there's anything lower than that. And, you start thinking, well, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm a bad parent. Maybe, And then you find out that the same people that did this to you, they did it to someone else. And when they were doing it to me, they were lying about knowing each other. They claimed they didn't know each other. Okay. They claimed, one of them, this therapist who I reported over and over, oh, I don't do anything with the courts. I don't get involved in the courts. I never get involved. At that time, she was saying that to me and saying that to my daughter. She was involved with the same judge, getting cases handed to her by the same judge that screwed us, and passing jobs and cases back and forth with the same therapist that took like $10,000, $15,000 from me. So anybody that tells you that, anyway, all this organizing we're doing, we need to be organizing in the family court system as well, to and in the schools too, like that situation we talk about here all the time, the crazy trustee. But what happens is, the only people who really get off their butts and become activists in the family court system are people like me who have been totally damaged from it and have PTSD, and we're half crazy and we're half out of our minds because we almost lost our kids, or some people who did lose their kids, And then, you come off looking like some kind of bitter lunatic complaining about judges. and talking about they change transcripts but that stuff is going on. You know. Hey. Anyway, Emma Ibbitson, Ibbitson. The film is Traffic 2, Inside Child Protection. The website is petermiddletonpictures.co.uk. I'm no fan of David Icke, you know that, but some people are. And there's a little interview with him in there, so check that out. And check her out on Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. If you like the show, don't forget OppermanReport.com. That's where the member section is. I think I'm going to have to do like a whole 2-hour show just about the member section, explaining to people how it works and how it has nothing to do with YouTube, but doesn't seem to get across to people. So I'm going to do it over and over. And I got 17 minutes to kill tonight, so I might just do that about, what do you call it there? Member section is still on the loose. It has been confirmed that strawmen are Canadian, okay, and that authorities are asking people to stay indoors, lock your doors and windows until this group can be dealt with. You could find more information about this group of Canadians, at strawmanmusic.com. You can have your ad played here. Okay, we're looking for sponsors. Okay, in fact, we desperately need sponsors right now to take this show to the next level. So you can have your your ad played here, read live, like I'm doing now, so artfully. Or we can even work up a little jingle for you with some music and stuff like that and play it here. You have no idea how inexpensive it would be to have your ad played on the Opperman Report on 7 stations live Friday night and another 7 stations live on Saturday night, plus replayed every day of the week on different stations, and then archived on YouTube, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and all different kinds of podcasts, Pod This and Podbean, all different kinds of places who archive the show for us. And on those archives, your ad would play indefinitely, forever. You also get a little banner on OppermanReport.com. You get a mention on the air. You get a little interview on the air, and all kinds of fun stuff if you sponsor Opperman Report.